St. Lucia, the alpha of radio.
What's on my mind is next with the compliments of La Place Salaison, Lazarus Funeral Home, Susie's Variety, and Europa.
Ouais, messieurs, aujourd'hui, moi, la KSP plein bon glow. C'est un pani pressure. Moi, ni tongue, moi, ni glow, mais money pressure. Ou savez ça, moi, besoin? A pomme. Ça, c'est bêtise. Moi, quand aller quoi Europa, you need toute pomme pour toute condition. Qui pour caille, qui pour business. You need pli mer pour pomme cette ici. You can ranger pomme aussi qui besoin service. Brand pump yo c'est Léo. Pump ça c'est Major. Ils vont tout bonnement. Tant si ten mois à cholma. Glo ka fante. Europa ni pump glo Léo under pour les nerfs, joints et gris. Visitez Europa à Massad Gozile. Les mots au téléphone 452-0763.
You are the guru of groceries. You have a heightened awareness for lower prices. You journey to find freshness and variety and quality brands. And you have an acquired taste for specialty items. You want to set a good example for your followers. And that's why your higher calling is Susie's Variety Store. 2 stores that beat the giants on pricing, variety, and quality. Susie's Variety, small store, big love. Located in Cantonment, Vieux Fort, and Bois d'Orange, Groseilliers. Telephone 458-4161.
There is only one option when they arrive. Our services will make the dead look alive. With Bouteille and Beaufort accessibility. Remember, we have the only private cemetery. No one can match our prices from coffin to corsage. Personalized service you get when Lazarus take charge. Quality service, no package to make your wallet bleed. Lazarus is your true friend in your time of need.
It's delicious.
La Place Salaison is the true home of quality meat and deli products, selected and priced to suit every palate and pocket. We sell all cuts of meat, poultry and fish, from tasty lamb necks and succulent pork chops to lean dolphin and juicy top round steaks. Our deli items include turkey, ham, bacon, pork sausages, meat patties, chicken nuggets, deli ham and eggs, so that breakfast or that party is a breeze. And for your added convenience, we sell restaurant essentials and grocery items. So where's your next meal coming from? La Place Salaison, of course. La Place Salaison. Castries, Groceries, Vieux Fort, and Soufrière.
It's delicious.
Hello there, good morning, good afternoon, good night to our listeners and to our viewers in St. Lucia and across the globe. Welcome to What's on My Mind for today, Monday, the 29th of September. And today we have a very special guest in studio, as I announced earlier this morning. He's independent candidate for Castries North, Marcellus Backsteed. It's the second time he's actually been here on Rev-Up St. Lucia, and I think this will not be his last. Marcellus, a very good morning to you.
Hi, good morning. Morning. Thanks for having me back. Accept my condolences to you and your family.
Yes, Marcellus, thank you. And let me listen, I think I should be thanking you because you gave the tribute to Tony. I want to thank you for doing that. I just couldn't do it. So I want to thank you for being strong enough, because I know you and Tony were very, very close. So
almost almost didn't make it all the way, but it was a good send-off. We sent him off to Valhalla in a positive way with a lot of his friends and family, and it really showed the spirit of his life, just the different levels of the footballers, just the fella by the corner, the businessman, the prime minister, the opposition leader. It really showed what Tony was. Mm-hmm. He was just about love for everybody,
True. I agree. I wanted to also say that I noticed there are lots of people who hadn't seen, Laclarians, who I hadn't seen for many years, and they showed up. In fact, Hala, in particular, said to me, he came back because of Tony's funeral, meaning I guess he meant that he was already in St. Lucia. He had probably went back to the States, and he came back especially for Tony's funeral. That, I mean, we really do appreciate
Yeah,
that.
well, a few fellas came back. I did a few airport runs, so... Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, wow.
Yeah. Pick, Darby, a few other guys, that was able to make it,
Now, I didn't recognize Darby.
Yeah.
I didn't recognize him. When he came up, he said to me, you know who you're talking to there?
Yeah.
I said, I think so. He said me Darby. I was like, what? That's your partner. I hadn't seen Darby in years.
Yeah.
He looks so different.
Yeah. Well, I've seen him because I've seen him a few times,
I remember him as a kid, a little boy, right? And I see this tall guy coming up to me and ask me if I remember who he is. I have no idea. Yeah, and that was Darby.
Yep.
I'm surprised I didn't see Lincoln as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trumpet,
yeah.
Yeah.
I think Trumpet can make it for some work reason,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But it was really, really a nice experience. It really was nice.
Yeah.
I mean, massive turnout. Even the priests mentioned the fact that he said there was a full house in the church, and it was kind of like making the point.
Outside, there were people waiting down by the club on the field, Yeah.
And he was making the point that Tony must have really had an impact on so many people for the church to be so full.
So yesterday, right, we kind of had just a line. The fellas normally had the lime yesterday, and I had to point out, boy, anybody get a broken heart now, we have to find a new fella to talk to, because
Tony's not there.
Tony, that was Tony, unofficial role,
Yes.
He's a counselor for all. Yeah.
I always told him he's probably the best listener I've known in my entire life.
Yeah.
He listens. He doesn't disturb you. He allows you to speak.
Yeah.
And this is even counselors, professional counselors, make that mistake, because I've been around professional counselors and they tend to talk a lot as well. But Tony, he actually listens to you. He sits there and he allows you to speak. And I let me just make a quick point. I feel that people who tend to be extremely intelligent, and they tend to speak a lot more. I suspect it's because they have so much going on in their heads. There's so much knowledge that they feel they need to express the knowledge and to share it. I think that maybe that's the reason. But Tony always said, I don't know a lot of things, but I know some things about all things. Words to that effect.
Yeah.
That's how he was. So I think that now helped him to realize, and myself too, and I'm sure a lot of other people, that because we do not know everything, we need to listen, become better listeners.
But he had a genuine interest in people. That's what it was too. It wasn't really about intelligence or not knowing. He just had a general intelligence. So if I come on a Friday night and I'm talking about something to do with tiles or something that he doesn't even know anything about, his angle is he cares about what backs have to say, So he'll give you the time and he'll listen, and he'll genuinely listen to you. And sometimes, because he's genuinely listening, he might be able to solve a problem that you have, that he has no idea of the industry that you're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's his genuine love for people that was impact. It had really nothing to do with intelligence or knowledge of things, because a lot of people know things, but they cannot impact it. They just don't have the time. They don't really care to help anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a big difference.
I think they're more concerned about talking about themselves and the knowledge that they have, right? Anyway. But it's all part of being humble and so on. And Tony was that kind of guy. I'm sure there's a lot more to talk about Tony and the funeral, but I guess I'll do that a little later today.
Yeah.
Because you're here for another very, very important reason, because you are now taking on a massive challenge, if you will, especially going up against the incumbent MP for Castries North, Honorable Stephenson King.
Going up against the two Steves.
Oh yes, that's the other the candidate for the United Workers Party.
Yeah.
Yes. What's his full name again?
Steve Fravre.
Right.
He calls himself the Better Steve. So. And that's what he calls himself online. So.
He was actually at the funeral as well.
Yeah, he was there.
He was there. So let me ask you, before we move on, how did you feel being around Stephenson King and this gentleman you just spoke about? How do you feel? And by the way, do you guys have a nice rapport with each other?
No, I mean, I when Steve came in, older Steve came in, I shook his hand, said hello to him, and I saw Fevrier, said hello, shook his hand. For me, this thing is about the constituency, and it's about a plan, and it's about where we grew up and wanting to fix it. It's nothing personal. In this last 2 months, I have not said anything about anybody in terms of a personal attack or anything. I have looked at the constituency in a frame through the eyes of the individuals in the constituency and through my expertise and what I know and what I can bring to the table. So it's business, it's government, it's community wrapped up in one. It really has nothing personal. I mean, I've taken my slew of personal attacks online from both sides, but like I say, I'm doing this. I understand why I'm doing this. I understand why I'm running as an independent candidate, and I'm not supporting Mr. King, or I'm not supporting Fevrier, because I have a developmental plan that has grown out of listening to people in the constituency, being part of the community, being part of a person that got a scholarship, a person that struggled in his earlier days in his academic career and got a scholarship and saw the benefits of a university education. Mm-hmm. So that my drive into politics it's not personal in terms of an individual basis. You'll never hear me calling anybody a name or any of that type of politics.
Bravo to you. In fact, the Dr. Ernest Hilaire, I think in a recent press conference, he was saying that the party in general, meaning members of the party, that's what he says. They've taken a decision apparently not to go down, the mudslinging and so on. So I'm then monitoring to see whether that will pan out.
Yeah, I think we have to get to a stage in our politics as a country, not just Castries North. We have to get to a stage where if you want to represent a constituency, you need to have a plan, and you need to have a plan to deal with the issues that we have. And I think for too long, this thing has been done on a personality basis. And that's fine. You kind of need to have a personality, but I think it cannot just be about your personality. You cannot just be a cool fella, or a fella that everybody like, or a fella that can just drink rum by a bar and then get people to vote for you. I think you really have to sit down and spend time with the problems of the constituency, see how you could solve it from your perspective, and that's what I've done. I've looked at the skill set I have. I've looked at the problems in the constituency, and the problems that I know I can solve, and that's why I'm running as an independent candidate.
Mm-hmm. Just going back to the issue of the mudslinging and so on, let me ask you, do you think that really has an effect on the on voters when you say nasty things about your opponent? Do you think it has an effect, or do you think that's something that St. Lucians like?
It does, and it's the nature. It's human nature to when you especially in our culture, when you catch something that's you have a rhythm, and you can make fun of somebody, and sometimes the politicians themselves are skilled to turn it around. Mr. King himself, the other time they would give him licks on a particular thing, and then he can take it and embrace it and turn it around. So it has a place, and it does affect politics, but to the point where it becomes so overwhelming, that's all you're doing, where you just name calling, and then a politician now has to figure out how to dance around it or come up with another gimmick to get out of it.
Yeah.
I think it then damages the country. There's no room for growth when you calling a man by his name. Sometimes I go online to answer questions.
And not necessarily by his name, by some other name.
By other name. Sometimes I go online to answer questions. I put a plan out about sports economics, and then 3, 4, 5 comments is about chicken backs and kangaroo roll on backs. And I mean, it's exhausting, but that's part of the thing. I mean, that's my nickname. So, but nobody, some people do not take the time to say, okay, let me read through what he's talking about. Can you take the economics of sports and create employment for young people and older people? And no. Stew backs, chicken backs, and I mean, that's some of the comments, and it's a lot of the comments, and you have to catch yourself not to get involved in that nonsense, because it.
So you're saying that there's a place for it in our politics.
There's a place for it.
Meaning there's some people who like it.
Yeah? There are people who like it, and I mean, the picong is nice every now and then, but I mean, when it becomes problematic, it is when that is all people are running on. I mean, you see some of the candidates they have that trying to present themselves, and even some of the people that are been in government, they have nothing to show, or they have no major accomplishments, and so they have to rely on that. But
so have you ever approached Mr. King and air your views? I'll tell you why I say that. I remember many years ago, I met a politician just across here at the mall. I was going to the supermarket, and I met him. He hadn't entered the fray as yet, and he was telling me about all the plans he has, and if he were to win, and blah 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 blah. So I said to him, well, why don't you share that with the current Prime Minister? And he told me no. He says that's for him when he gets it there. So have you ever done that?
Well, I'm a little different in that light, because what I really didn't want to be in politics in terms of that's not really what I my calling per se. I like people. I hang out a lot. I like my community. I love my community, but I run a business, and I'm very involved in helping students get basketball scholarships. That was, and when I came back home in 2011, I mean, my primary focus was to focus on business, and get people scholarships, as many people as I can. That was it for me.
By the way, how successful have you been with that?
I've been very successful in terms of the number of persons I've gotten scholarships for. I have not been successful in getting it streamlined in terms of institutionalizing it in a system. That's where I struggle. But in terms of on an individual basis, I mean, there's a young man right now, Noah Boy, that Western Kentucky is on a full scholarship. And I can go throughout the years of different athletes that I've gotten help put through my system, help them do the SATs, get them full scholarships.
So these scholarships have nothing to do with the government per se.
Has nothing to do with the government.
Just you
so
assisting.
What I started doing, like the way I got recruited, I was playing on the national team in Barbados, and a guy named Tivesta Anderson saw me playing, and I had a really good tournament, and so that's how I got the opportunity to go to the States. So what I did was, when I got to the States, I just saw, the incredible opportunity for all kinds of things for players, whether it's football, track and field. So I would come back home in the summer and put camps together and then invite coaches to come back and watch players, and then that's how players started getting scholarships. So the first player I got a scholarship for was a guy named Walter Eubank. He was actually a adversary of mine, but he was a real good player. And I remember getting to the States and telling my coach, hey, there's this other player that can jump just as high as me, can run as fast. But he didn't get recruited in that tournament and then a year or two later, I think it was a couple years later, we brought him up to the States. We ended up putting him in a junior college, and then he ended up going on, to get his degree and all that. Then I did another player like that, which was a classmate of mine, Movin Leo. And by then, after doing that a couple times like that, that wasn't really sustainable. So what I ended up doing was, after my professional basketball career, I was teaching at Sarah Simmons, and what I started doing was actually organizing camps in the summer so I can get talent from all over the island. I can bring coaches down. I would bring the coaches down from the States, and then I can streamline the process. So I did that for about 4 years whilst I lived in St. Lucia. And then, like I said, after in 1998, I left again. I left St. Lucia to go to Saudi Arabia and then Taiwan. So the program was kind of interrupted, and then I ended up not coming back to St. Lucia until like 2001 to do another program to work with athletes. So it then got back to, it wasn't part of an institution. I was just doing it whilst I was in the United States, in going to grad school. By then I'm going to grad school, I'm coming to Jump Carnival, I see a player. So I start bringing up players that way. And then I started the program again when I came back in 2011. So I started a youth league. I had my kids involved. I had all the little kids in La Clary. And that's kind of where I kind of got it somewhat through doing it through VBCC and doing it through on an institutionalized level. But like I said, in terms of working with Mr. King, I have offered. I have written proposals. I've written grants. I have worked with the senior management of VBCC in terms of trying to get trying to make things available that Mr. King himself requested, and it really is just on his part that it never got institutionalized, because I don't think that's his style of politics.
Okay.
And
so in other words, this sort of catapulted you now to say, something to yourself.
I think I can, I can get involved and do some of this myself, because part of being in the community, I saw, just being part of the community in 2011, I saw the issues firsthand with that was happening with across the river with the crime situation. I saw how it was growing, the trash situation. I saw.
When you say across the river, what do you mean?
There was a gentleman. He has passed now, but he lived across the river. He had his crew across the river, and he was a really negative influence in 2011.
Oh, okay. I know you're talking about.
He created havoc in the community, and I confronted that head on, because doing basketball, you fellas would say they don't want to come out at a certain time because of that individual, and I even had a confrontation with him, and he offered to wet my shirt if I didn't chill out.
Wow.
So I've been in this thing on all levels, head on.
Well, I'm going to say bravo to you, because I know who you're referring to. I would have stayed a million feet away from him. That's for sure.
And I told him. I wasn't afraid of him. I grew up there fighting, and he reminded me that it only costs $250 and a Guinness to wet your shirt.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow. So did that concern you? That's like a threat.
I mean, like everything else, sometimes stupidity, the stupidity of a La Clary boy is what drives us sometimes. So, but I have, in terms of, I have no fear of, I'm more worried about not doing anything, and having young people look at me just. I remember I went on the blocks, and let me finish my thought. I went on the block a few months ago, right? My kids were here. My son plays football in the States, and I remember looking at a young man, and he's telling me, almost, don't come with that blue thing again, this in a mess, that in a mess. And I remember leaving there so heartbroken, and so, like that bothered me more than a fella telling me he's going to wet my shirt. That eat at me more,
So it's $250 and plus what?
$250 and a Guinness.
And a Guinness.
Yeah.
Whew. Wow. I wonder if that price has decreased over the years.
2011.
That's what I'm saying. I wonder if that price has decreased or increased over the years.
But
that's really sad.
He was a negative guy, man. Just horrible individual.
Maybe I knew who he was, but I heard of him. I heard about him. and everything I heard was just negative. So maybe I knew who he was, but I didn't realize that's who it was, if you understand what I'm saying. Yeah. Okay, well, Maswadas, I mean, bravo to you, man. You're a brave guy. So you're also brave now to take on this, to take on this, what I consider to be a behemoth in the Castries North constituency. So I think now you have a plan for the constituency. I know you're heavy into sports and so on, so I imagine this plan must be really comprehensive. So we're all curious to hear what plans you have now for the constituency. Where do you begin?
Okay, so one of the things I'm really proud about is I'm proud about the work we've done in sports, but I have been writing some of the same universities that I've been getting guys basketball scholarships. So I wrote them in a different capacity, in a capacity of performance, education performance, because we have 12 schools in our constituency, just in Castries North, from the convent in Cedars all the way to St. Mary's College in VG and everything in between, Sarah Simmons, Castries Comprehensive, the SDA Academy, and all the primary schools. That's an incredible resource. So I've been writing the universities that I've been placing basketball players at, and like I said, it's several different. We've had more than 20 players get basketball scholarships. So I've reached out to these universities to do the first thing to do for me is I wanted St. Lucian students to be able to go to these universities and pay in-state tuition. That was the first part of my plan. So we've signed a memorandum of understanding through one university already, with Washburn Universities in Topeka, Kansas, where any St. Lucian student can go to Washburn University and they'll be treated like they are from Kansas. They will not be paying international rates. So that's one part. So like say your daughter, what's your daughter's name again? Naomi, you can start putting $10 a month aside in Bank of St. Lucia, and by the time she's 18, you can take that money, and you wouldn't have to pay international rates. You can pay. She'll be like she was born in Kansas. So that is a significant accomplishment. We've taken it a step further. Iwan Ogis that is a guy that I got a basketball scholarship for. He has started his own scholarship fund. So with a combination of his scholarship fund and the MOU with the university, tuition, you could practically go to Washburn University, like I said, for a very low rate. So that's one initiative that we have kind of started. The university I went to, well, I went to several schools, but the one I graduated from, my undergraduate from, is a school called Emporia State University in Kansas, which is down the street from Washburn University. It's a rival university. So we have agreed on an MOU to do almost the same thing. They'll get a discounted rate on tuition, but they've taken it a step further, that any student that can pass the SATs, get a particular score on the SATs, and I will be putting that out on my website when I put it up, because I don't know the actual scores right now, but any student that can pass the SATs, you'll get an amount of scholarship. If you get a higher score on the SATs, you'll get even more money. If you get a top score, you'll get it has 3 different rankings of money that you can get. The other part of it that I'm excited about, because I wasn't a good student, so I'm not a good test taker, but the university will be using grade point average, GPA. So let's say you are at Vidbutai Secondary School and you can maintain your grades from Form 2 to Form 5. You could take your grades now without passing any big exam and go and apply for some of the same scholarship money. I'm excited about that. I'm really excited about that because, like I said, I wasn't a good student. I was always doing something other than school. So to be able to have that, have testing, have SATs as part of a program that a young person in Vidbutai, in Sarah Simmons, and anywhere in our constituency can apply for scholarship to Emporia State University or Washburn University. I mean, when I got to university, Andre, because I could jump really high and I was really fast, right? There's no bones about it. That's why the university took me. It wasn't because of my grades. It wasn't because of anything. It was because of my sporting performance. But now we have an opportunity for anybody in our constituency, really, and anybody on the island, because the way we agree to word the MOU is St. Lucian students. Anybody in St. Lucia can take this and run with it and apply to university in Kansas, and it's just based on performance. It doesn't matter what political party you're in, who you support, who your family is. If you can pass the SATs, if you can maintain your GPA, you can use that. You can use that to get to university in the next few years. So I'm really excited. That's just one aspect, and we plan on using that to do a lot of other things. We use that as an opportunity to run SATs and after school programs, because that's a big thing I think we need to do in the constituency. Then we use that, and then we use that to create employment in terms of youth empowerment, and to take some of the programs that they're running nationally and make it local. You know, because right now there are programs that are being presented nationally. You hear about this, you see it in the budget, but it's not being presented local in terms of our constituency.
Why is sports so important to your mandate, right? I get the impression that you feel strongly that young people maybe can be steered in another direction if sports or the talents, as far as sports is concerned, can be used to change the course that their lives would probably be heading in a particular direction, that it can help change it. You sound to me like you feel strongly that sports has a huge part to play in the lives of young people.
Well, for me, it's not just sports. The way I personally, I grew up in St. Lucia in the 70s and the 80s, where you had to be very bright to go to secondary school. We had when we did common entrance, you only had about 3 or 4 secondary schools at the time. Yeah. Later, I mean, now that's not an issue. You have universal secondary education, but at the time, getting into a secondary school you had to be a good student. I went to Rock Hall. From Anglican school, I went to Rock Hall, then I went to Leon Hess, and I scraped into Leon Hess. And one of the things, I had good teachers at Leon Hess, but I had a plan that had nothing to do with academics. So people that know me in LeClerc, they would say, boy, from 4 a.m. every morning, I would be on the court in LeClerc, all right? And then I would run with Ali Coco for another hour, and then I would meet a partner of mine in the gardens, Moving Leo, and we'd play, and then we would run to Hess to get to Hess at 9 o'clock, right, to make it to my first class, 9:30. Sorry. I mean, that I did that for 3 years. I got a basketball scholarship. But what the United States did for me is that it opened my eyes to there are a lot of different ways to earn a living.
And to succeed.
It's not just being a lawyer or academics. Now the academics are important, of course, because I myself had to go to summer school and make sure because I struggled my first year, but I myself had to go through a summer program, and it was because I was a basketball player. They push me in that. So I've seen, for me personally, I've seen the benefit of sports. And then, I mean, all the guys, Andre, I've been doing this thing where I've been writing about all the guys who got scholarships, and I've been doing it on Facebook. Andre, the amount of guys that have MBAs and master's degrees and started companies, and I mean, in the last, I was so proud of what they have accomplished. And then you look at people like Julian Alfred. Julian Alfred is on her way to being a millionaire. You know, I
On her
have,
way, you said on her way.
well, I don't know her budget, but I mean, I'm saying she will be as long as she continue what she's doing the way. I mean,
Remember, she was gifted $1 million by the government. So-
okay,
so
okay,
she's already there.
yeah. But I mean, in
Unless
terms
unless of course she spent most of that already.
in terms of her own what she's doing in the Diamond League, I mean, if she just continues that for the next few years, she's gonna make be able to earn a very good living, and then her going to University at Texas. I think she graduated. She can coach. There's so many doors that have opened because of sports. And as a kid from Cicero, that probably would not have probably want to be. I don't know. I mean, I don't know her personally, but I'm just saying, sports, and it's not just sports. It's theater. It's the arts. It's poetry. We are not all wired the same way. We don't learn things the same way. So we have to be able to reach out to young people in a lot of different ways.
But I'm glad you made the point earlier, because at the end of the day, we're living in a world where you must be able to read, right? I mean, you go to a first world country, you just have to read.
Yeah.
Train this place, bus this place, you must be able to read. You also need to know what 1 and 1 are 2. You understand? That's
No,
sort of
I
thing.
mean, for
so
me personally,
basic maths, basic English, that at least that.
Yeah.
You understand?
Me personally, when I went to school, I mean, I was so heavily just sports, and I mean, I had to take a lot of remedial classes my first year at university. I had to go. I went to school. A fellas joke. I went to school for 4 years as summer school. So after your year ended, I went to summer school every year for 4 years. I mean,
well, to catch up.
To catch up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
let me ask you, before we move on, I want to ask you something very, very important. Because well, I shouldn't say in the world, St. Lucia, places a heavy, which they still do, a heavy emphasis on academic, right? Academic performance and so on. How did your family manage that aspect of your life? Because families tend to want you to be like the other children and so on, and you definitely didn't fit that mold at all, Marcellus. How did your mom in particular, manage that?
That's a good question. The first time my mother came to Kansas, and she was walking around Emporia, Kansas. She came to a basketball game, thousands of people screaming, Steed. My mother said, "Bob, I didn't know I used to beat you for going on the court." I didn't know. So, I mean, my mother did her best. My mother worked at JQ. I remember my mother telling me, behave yourself, and she can get a job for me in the parts department at JQ if you try and behave yourself. I mean, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to play basketball all day, all night, So my mother did her best. My father is an accountant. I mean, there have no way I could be and sit and just do accounting all day. My father was a little different. I didn't really grow up with him, so that was a little different in terms of the way we grew up. He didn't have that kind of influence on my life, but my mother was, you need to behave yourself and be a good boy, and work at JQ,
But Marcellus, your story is a very, very interesting one. Very interesting. I say very interesting because it just proves the point that this is what you always wanted, right? You love basketball. Now, for the typical parent, including yours truly here, I would have found that to be very, very strange, and I'd be worried what's going to happen in the future. But now you're saying sports now has just opened up a whole bunch of avenues for people who have those kinds of talents and abilities to become just as successful as somebody who is an accountant, a lawyer, a doctor. That's what you're saying.
And now in college in the United States, there's what you call NIL. They are paying players on their likeness. So we have a young man from Moshi that he went to Vidbutei or Patrice secondary school in La Claire. Well, that was Vidbutei at the time. He went to school there, and he's at West. He started out at Baylor he started out at a junior college in Nebraska. Signed with Baylor University, one of the top universities in Texas. He went to LSU, another top university in Louisiana, and now he's at Western Kentucky. Right? He's getting paid. He's making money. He called me the other day. We were having a discussion about investing, and I mean, there is a 20-year-old young man St. Lucian from Moshi that's talking about investing, and we were talking about the stock market and saving a percentage of your money, and I'm talking to him about basketball's gonna, it's a short life of a basketball player, so you can't just run behind the girls and spend money, and we were having that kind of conversation, So
one of the people I saw at the funeral, Tony's funeral, was Ball Hog.
Yeah.
So he's another
perfect example.
Yeah. Tell us just quickly his story.
Ball Hog, again, grew up like myself, almost the same time period. We he had a passion for football, and I was basketball. Ball Hog was one of these people that could anything with a ball. That's hence the name Ball Hog. He could play tennis, cricket, just anything. He's just super talented, and he became a professional player at I think at 17 or 18. And he's been all over the world playing football. He's back home now. He's working with young people, working in youth development. I think he works with the government and with the primary schools. So, I mean, that is an example.
Another example.
Yeah.
And of course, you have the Darren Sammy and
you have Sammy,
so many of them.
There's a guy named Gabriel. He's very, very low key. I don't even know if I should be mentioning his name, but he went on a basketball scholarship as well, and he does incredible work. He has a shooting talent. Like, he can teach how to shoot the ball, and we have not been able to structure a program for him. Like I said, not everybody has the same ability to do things. Sometimes when you come back, earning a living is a real thing, and sometimes you can't focus on basketball, or you can't focus on coaching, So our structures, our society is not that way as yet, but he has a really good skill, and he has helped several players go to university as well.
So Marcellus, just before we move on, just quickly, what advice do you have to offer? Because I'm sure a lot of parents are listening right now, and young people as well. I'm sure they love what you're saying. So what advice do you have to offer to the parents of children who show these quote-unquote different qualities, right? Where, yes, the academics, yes, it's true, as I said, we both agree, the basics, you have to learn how to read, you must know how to write and that's that sort of thing, and 101 or 2, right? But what advice do you have for parents who are struggling with this thing because they're worried that, hey, my child is interested in cricket and football, and they don't really see, especially where St. Lucia is concerned, a great future for their children? How do they balance that?
I think is as a parent, because I have 3 kids as well. So as a parent, you have to balance it. You have to be true to your kid in terms of what they want to do. I mean, I have 3 children, and I try pushing basketball on them, and none of them play basketball. One's a swim coach, one's running track at Wichita State, and my son plays soccer or football in almost a professional academy that he's gonna be he wants to be a professional footballer. So, but the one constant is that you have to do your academics, you have to balance it, you have to, so I did not have that growing up, but with my children, I made sure, you have to balance it. There have to be some level of balance, because any major university that you want to get into, whether it's for sports, you have to present some type of academics. And anything, whether it's sports or you want to be in theater, you never know. Your skill now becomes a business. If you have a unique voice and you want to train, you want to use your voice to make money, you have to understand the business of profit and loss. So anything that you do is, whether it's dance, theater, it for you to make a living out of it, you have to be able to treat it, your skill set, as a business. So there has to be some level of balance in terms of the academics, and that coming from me, I mean, as a person, I was just sports, but I understand the academics is important, yes. and that's one of the reasons why we doing this program where we want people to get scholarships that have nothing to do with sports.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Marcellus, if I understand you correctly, basically you want to use your power, the power that you will wield, your influence and so on.
I call it more like a gift. I think I was given a gift.
Okay,
yeah.
All right. especially if you're selected by the electorate for the Castries North constituency, to use or to recognize the talents of young people who are excelling in sports and to see what you can do now to help them to get on the international stage. That's one of your major goals, correct?
Yeah, and like I said, it's not just sports.
I'm so happy
the way I see the constituency, because the nature of the constituency is almost like, when you look at the map of it, the way it's designed, it's almost like somebody says, this is the perfect place for high performers, because of all the schools that are around the area, the primary schools, the secondary schools, the sporting infrastructure, the coastline. Like we have a coast, we have the fields, we have businesses, and we just need to put it in a plan that we can one like a linkage plan, that one part of the plan is helping another. We just need to create these links. So sports is one part of the link, but education is one part of the links. The business community is another part of the link. We have a coast, we have the blue economy. So it's just about creating these links is what I'm trying to do, and doing it in a different type of politics. I'm not interested in the old school, just transactional do that and I'll vote for me. I'm really not interested in that.
I'm sure a lot of young people listening right now who are struggling, and also parents as well, who are struggling with this issue of academics vis-a-vis those natural talents and gifts and so on that the children have. Young people are probably saying, my God, it's so refreshing to hear somebody speak like that. That now if this person is chosen or is elected, I have an avenue now to express my skills and to one day look forward to not just St. Lucia, but having my skills on an international stage. Yeah.
And I think the current administration is pushing a lot of these policies on a national level. Castries North in particular has suffered because of politics. We've suffered because of politics, and it's unfortunate that.
When you say suffered because of politics, what do you mean by that? Because people we tend to say politics like it's something bad,
negative.
Yeah, and politics. I mean, it's a good thing because you need people to run the affairs of the country. Yeah, go ahead.
But in terms of our unique situation, we're unique in that Mr. King was the prime minister when so he had issues there, and then he became opposition leader, right? So he was in opposition. So then we had 5 years he was in opposition, and in terms of the old school transactional politics, that continued to a certain extent. You're in opposition, you don't get as many resources. That's what was been claimed, and then he had a internal political fight with Alan Chasney. I mean, all of these are facts. So he had this political fight, and then Alan Chasney becomes the leader. Again, what we were being told is that resources were not being made available to Castries North because of this internal political fight. Again, all of these are facts. We then have he within almost the last minute of running of the election, he comes out with that famous "Yo pair," and they win the election. And then we had 5 years, right, of UWP, and Mr. King is our rep. Again, there was nothing nationally trickled down to us locally. We were being told there was the Belrose Doctrine, and this one was being blamed, and we had this level of politics affecting Castries North, right? So that's if you're looking at a 10-year period already, right? So think about it. You're a kid. You're 10 years old. You have no after-school program. You have no proper playing field, no infrastructure. The elderly, all of the issues that we have is affecting us in that 10 years. Then
so just hold your thought, Marcellus. Just to be sure, I was trying to understand what you meant by the politics.
Yeah.
So what you really mean is the politics where you're treated a particular way because of who you support within the government structure.
Yeah, because
or even in the opposition, as a matter of fact.
Both in the opposition, because we one of the things I've been complaining about is that there isn't the systems in place. Our rep has never put systems in place where you don't have to go through the rep for everything. So for example, with the 10 years that I just spoke about, where opposition and then the fight between the fight for leadership, there were not systems in place where things get done, the field, anything in the constituency get done. So it was based on the rep. The rep have to do it. The rep have to do it.
But isn't that the way it's supposed to be?
No, that's not the way it's supposed to be.
What is it supposed to be?
And that's one of the mistakes we make. What we need systems. So for example, if you're an elderly person in the community and you need, let's say you need help with your grass being cut or diapers,
the drains being cleaned,
drains or something. We should have a system in place where it doesn't matter what party you support. If you're in AGAD, if you're in Mondidor, it doesn't matter what party you support. You can either go to a community representative or call a hotline or something where your issues can be addressed. The way it's done now, everything has to be
the minister,
through the minister
or the MP.
And if you have an MP that's energized and on the ground and he's doing work thing, you have you get good, like the people say. But if you have someone that's vexed or tired or having a political fight with his new opposition leader, you get nothing. And that's how Castries has suffered. Castries North has suffered in that way. And then you have
But don't you think other constituencies suffer the same way because it's the same system? No?
Not necessarily. I mean, when you look at constituencies like our side, when you look at what's happening in Groceries not suffering. Groceries have taken the national, whatever policies that are happening national, and they've made it local. I look at Central Castries. The courts are being fixed in Central Castries. These are things are happening in Central Castries. So I give you a joke. There's a guy. No, it's not a joke, but there's a guy running in Miku against Jeremiah. He goes to all of Jeremiah's projects and on his campaign he's saying, I will not stop any of these projects. There's a video out there on Facebook. He's saying, so he'll go by, Jeremiah is doing something in terms of the fishing guys. He's doing a road. He's bragging that he will not stop because there are projects going on in the constituency. So I did a little video saying I will not stop any projects in my constituency. And a fellow said, Bax, what projects are you talking about? We in Castries North, we have suffered because of politics. And then you had in the last in 2021 when you had the blue wave, he moved our rep moved to independent labor. We have not seen the performance. If you look at a matrix based on what was happening nationally and what's happening locally, we have not seen any benefit for him being part of this blue wave. It's been more of the same. Right as we speak, there's a rush to fix the field. There's a rush to come and cut grass at the health center and do a few things. But the systematic politics of Castries North have affected us and have almost been weaponized. The STEP program have been weaponized against us. And it's disheartening. I'm not happy with it, and that's one of the reasons I'm running. I'm running as an independent, and I know people are saying, "Boy, you're doing that because of Flobo," and there's some of the Labour people are saying that. There are all these different theories and nonsense. My main reason for running as an independent is a performance one. The national politics of St. Lucia has not affected the local politics of Castries North. So whether Philip J. Pierre can produce a great budget and have a surplus, no power, we're not seeing it in Castries North.
Marcellus, we came here to talk about your your plans for the constituency. We have not even scratched the surface. So, Marcellus, you're going to have to come back. There's no two ways on that one. You will let me know when it's more convenient for you, preferably on a Monday at this time, and we'll have to continue. But just before we move on, or before we end, let me ask you, what if it doesn't matter which party wins the next general elections, and because I'm sure they're listening to you, and they probably like to hear what you're saying, and they were to make you an offer to be the next sports minister, for example. I'm not saying it's going to be that. I'm just, a hypothetical situation. Would you accept?
For one, I think we have a very good sports minister. So I'm not interested in being a minister. I don't want to be a minister. I want to be the rep for Castries North. I don't even necessarily want any major portfolio in government or anything. I want a budget for Castries North so we can deal with the issues in Castries North. I want to be on the ground in day one when I win, and I want us to deal with some of the issues and put systems in place that we can fix some of the issues that we are having in Castries North. I think the constituency has a great resource in terms of its human capital, its costs, and the infrastructure that's already there. I think that is what I want. I have no interest in being in,
having a ministry.
No.
Or ministries.
Yeah.
Okay, just before we end, you said about the, dealing with the issues, plural. So, can you just tell us briefly what those issues are? What do you think those issues are?
So let's take the environment for one. Thousands of dollars are being budgeted for the environment in terms of the river. You look at the river runs from up in Kaweli all the way down to VG. So it affects almost a lot of the constituency. The river is not being it's not being cleaned properly. There is not enough education programs about taking care of that river. I mean, that's a place that we used to catch crayfish and drink out of, right? It's being treated where certain parts of the constituency, sewer is being dumped in it. It's not being maintained. So that's one issue that we have to address. We have to address it in a systematic way. No more of this step. We're going to clean the river through step program, and you have people that they're not even their names on the list, but they're not even working in step. They have a job somewhere and it's their grandmother. None of that nonsense. All of that has to stop, right? The river is one. We have an issue with our crumbling infrastructure in terms of retaining walls in certain parts of Mondidor that are heavily labor. They have supported the Labour Party, but they have not got any type of representation in terms of their infrastructure in their community for years. I'm not making this up. I'm in Mondidor almost every week. People can attest to what I'm saying, right? So you have an infrastructure problem in the community. We also have a problem, like I say, it's not a problem, it's an opportunity. We have all these schools in the community. We have kids that just come out at 3 o'clock and there's no direction for them. We need to put a plan together so we can get kids in after school programs. We can get them doing SATs. We can get them, learning how to drive earlier, linking with the driving schools. Because we have a problem in St. Lucia with finding drivers. We have a problem. I mean, it's a simple problem. You have no drivers to move goods around. And that's a simple problem we can address with an after-school program and all that. There are problems that can be fixed. We have the old beach facilities, right? Talking about the blue economy, we have the old beach facilities. That place, right? There's a gentleman there right now. He's been there for the last 10 years doing his thing in terms of renting beach chairs out. But we need to structure that properly, have some type of joint venture with this gentleman. Don't force him out. Don't call the police on him. Bring government, make government work for a local businessman, that's in the community, already doing work, already involved. He's doing football on a weekend. He's renting chairs. Let's embrace him, and make things happen for him. And that's our constituency. We have things in our constituency that we can do. We don't have to be beggars every Wednesday going to a constituency office.
Okay, Marcellus, as I said, you have to come back. I guess we shall talk. I'm off air and you let me know when it's convenient for you because we have not even scratched the surface as yet. So it was great chatting.
The plan is three, it has three legs, so
okay. What did we address today? The seat?
We did one.
The seat?
Yeah, we scratch youth development. There are other things on there that we can talk about too. But
okay, so hopefully, if not next week, but another Monday that's convenient to you. So, independent candidate for Castries North, Marcellus Backsteed, thank you very much for being our special guest today. It was fun. It was fun, and I like what you're saying about sports and so on, and this is something that we needed to hear. Too long now. We feel if our kids are going in some other direction, we have to shift them and come over to. And I understand, why parents are doing that, because in St. Lucia, I'm not to be critical of any administration or anything. I think parents seem to limit the children's prospects by thinking only St. Lucia. That if they go down that road, how can they survive in St. Lucia? Now, we've been making a lot of strides in that direction. I mean, even now, I think certain sports disciplines, they get an allowance now. That never used to happen before. Okay, so there's definitely some strides and things are changing. But as I like what you were saying today, and I'm sure a lot of other people are pleased with what you said, Marcella. So thank you very much for being our special guest today, and you'll be back soon. So this has been What's on My Mind with the compliments of La Place Salaison, Lazarus Funeral Home, Susie's Variety, and Europa.
Ouais, messieurs, aujourd'hui, moi, la KSP plein bon glow. Si t'es dans panic pressure, moi, ni tongue, moi, ni glow, mais money pressure. Ou savez ça, moi, besoin? A pump.